If you're thinking about making a move to Temecula, California, you're going to want to watch this video. This video is all about the pros and cons of living here in Temecula, California, and will give you a great perspective on what it's actually like to live here in the city. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so again, my name is Justin Short. I am a realtor and team leader for the Short Real Estate team here in Temecula, California and Murrieta, California. And this video is all about the pros and cons of living here in Temecula, California. So I've lived here for over 20 years. I think I can give you guys a really great perspective on what it's actually like to live here, give you some of the highlights, give you some of the lowlights, and hopefully help you and your family make the decision and see if this is the right area for you guys to make a move to. So the first thing, if you are liking this video, we have tons of other videos on our channel all about the Temecula, Murrieta Valley and the local areas. So if you're liking the videos, please do me a favor, hit like, please hit subscribe. Helps me, it helps the channel. And then if you have any real estate questions, we would definitely love to hear from you guys. So I get people that reach out to me all the time, almost every day, multiple times a week, and I definitely love hearing from you guys. I love answering questions, happy to point you in the right direction. If you are interested in purchasing a home here, of course, we would definitely love to help you do that as well. If you have any questions, you can feel free and reach out. You can see all my information below. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the pros and cons of living here in Temecula. So we're gonna do the good stuff first, we'll do the bad stuff second, and let's go ahead and get into it. So the pro number one, and really probably the reason most people actually make a move here and live here in the city, is because living here in Temecula is actually relatively affordable for Southern California. So most people live here and make a commute out. So it's a big bedroom community. So people live here in Temecula and they commute to San Diego, LA, Orange County. And the biggest draw for them coming here is because it's just more affordable. So like when we're comparing to San Diego, LA, Orange County, those are areas that on average are well over $1 million, and even $1 million gets you like a shack out there, a small 2-bedroom home, that type of thing. And you're close to the beach, but you can't get much for the money, right? So as opposed to, you can live here in Temecula, you can get a great big 3,000 square foot home for 700,000, 800,000, 900,000, depending on the neighborhood. So it's a lot more affordable, and that's really the biggest draw for people when they're making a move here. It's just it's relatively affordable for being in Southern California. So the second biggest draw, and the number 2 pro that we have, is it's a great school district. So Temecula, California has an amazing school district. It's across the board. All the schools are 8s, 9s, and 10s out of 10s on all the different rating websites that are out there. The high school, especially Great Oak High School, it's one of the top high schools in the nation. They're nationally ranked. Most of the schools have some really competitive sports programs and just a really great district and a great education system. So there's actually a lot of people that will move here just for their kids to go to school, and then once the kids are grown, they'll take off out of town and move on to their next place. But that's a big pro for people. The third biggest pro of living here in Temecula is it's one of America's safest cities. So consistently, we're going to be anywhere in the top 100 of America's safest cities on a nationwide list. We've been in the top 10, we've been in the top 20 consistently. I think this year, there's somewhere right around 30 or so. But in general, it's a very safe city, especially for being in California, and that's a big plus for people. Number 4 is the fact that we're anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour for most everything that Southern California is going to offer. So here in Temecula, we're not next to the beach, we're not next to the mountains, anything like that, but you're about 45 minutes an hour to the Pacific Ocean, so to the beaches in San Diego or Orange County. You're about 45 minutes to an hour to downtown San Diego. You're about 45 minutes to an hour to like all the other stuff that San Diego offers, like the zoo and all types of stuff. You're about 45 minutes an hour to Orange County. You're about 45 minutes an hour to Disneyland. You're about 45 minutes or an hour to the mountains, I guess you're a little bit shorter, a little bit longer distance to the mountains, like to Big Bear Mountain. But there is definitely some snow that you can get to within about 45 minutes or an hour for the right season. You're about 45 minutes to an hour to the desert. So if you like going out to the desert and playing with your toys and everything out there, it's a really good central hub to where everything is relatively close to you. So that's a big pro for people. Pro number 5 is the Temecula wine country. So I've lived here again quite a while, over 20 years, and back then, the Temecula wine country, although it was a thing and it was an area, there's really no notoriety to it. But especially over the last decade or so, so many of the wineries have popped up, been developed, and really have gained a lot of national recognition. So now here in Temecula, there's over 50 wineries. I think there's over 60 wineries now. They have some really great restaurants, some really great, award-winning wines. It's really become a hot spot for people that they'll come out and they'll take vacations here to Temecula just to check out wine country. So we get like a lot of tourism that way. I think I saw the stat this last year. There was over 3 million people that came on for tourism to the city of Temecula, which to me I thought that was a pretty mind-blowing stat because again when I was 20 years ago and when we moved here that wasn't a thing. It was probably less than 50,000 people. So that's really an area that has grown so much, and most of that is because of Temecula wine country. All right, so pro number 6 is just the fact that it's a well-kept and newer suburb. So the city of Temecula has been around for a while, but really most of the city, as we know it today, it's really mostly a suburb area, right? So most of the homes have been built anywhere from the mid-90s to probably 2010, 2012. There is some new construction that's still even finishing up now, right? But because it's a newer area and kind of these master plan communities that were built, the area is really, really squeaky clean. It's all the trees are trimmed and it's well taken care of, well maintained, and that's a big draw for people, especially if you have a family or you want a nice area, especially for kids to grow up, etc. That's really a big draw for people, and and then pro number 8 is it's a great area for kids. The area in general is really, really geared toward families and especially kids. So like we have 2 young kids. So I have a 5-year-old son, a 7-year-old daughter, and there's so many different activities. There's tons of sports leagues. There's tons of extracurricular activities. I mentioned before that the schools are really, really highly rated. So obviously that's a pro, but there's a ton of parks. I think there's over 50 parks now in the city of Temecula, and there's more in the surrounding cities as well. Even like all the different venues, and whether it's out in the wineries and they do different family events for for Halloween or for Christmas, or ice skating rinks, or like our downtown area has a ton of different stuff that they offer. It's just so geared towards families. The average person that lives here, I think it's like 37 years old. So that kind of lends to someone with younger kids, etc., right? And so that kind of all goes in together. So a lot of families live here in the area, and just in general, it's a really area that's really been geared towards families, and so that's a big pro for people. That's big for me. It's one of the reasons that we live here. So let's go ahead and we'll get into the cons now. So I guess I have to give this disclaimer. So I've lived here for a long time. I plan to continue to live here for another 20 years, right? This is where my business is here locally. I think the area is a great area. I think the city is a great city to live in, but it's not going to be perfect for everybody. So I want to make sure, I want to give some cons and talk to people about maybe some reasons why they would not want to live here, to hopefully give a really good perspective. So I'm not hating on Temecula. I feel like in the past I've kind of been accused of that with some of these videos. So I want to throw out and give that disclaimer. So the biggest con for people that I hear, so we deal with a lot of people that relocate in here, a lot of people that relocate out as well. But the biggest con for people here in Temecula is they feel like although we are 45 minutes an hour from all these different activities like we talked about, but we're really not next to anything. So because Temecula really is such a such a suburban area, right? You're not, people think of Southern California, you're not 10 minutes from the beach, right? You're not 10 minutes from downtown San Diego. You're not 10 minutes from Orange County, or maybe some of those things that people have in their mind about what Southern California is supposed to be, right? And that can be hard. So I've known a lot of people that have moved here and not been super happy with the location as far as the distance, and not wanting to be 45 minutes or an hour from some of those bigger cities. So that's something that you should definitely know before you make a move here. Number 2 biggest con is, it's just, there's no way to get around it, but it's hot, right? So the city and the surrounding areas are really more of like a desert type of climate, right? It's So in summer, the average temperature in September and August is about 90 degrees, but we definitely get those heat waves over 100. So consistently, you'll see 100, 102, up to 103, 104, 105. And it's hot, right? It's a hot temperature, and if you're coming from a different area, if you're coming from Midwest or Pacific Northwest, that's just something you got to be okay with. So hopefully, if you're going to move here, you're going to want to be around the sun. You're going to be out in the sun, and hopefully enjoy the nice weather. One thing I will talk about with the weather is, although it does get hot and you get those heat waves, at night we do get a really nice breeze. So it is different than somewhere that's more like the true desert, like say Palm Springs or Las Vegas or something like that, where yeah, it's 105 in the afternoon and it never ever cools down, right? At 7 o'clock at night, it's still 99 degrees. That's not the case here, where it could be a really hot heat wave. It's 104, right? But by the time the evening comes, we get a really nice breeze. So because we are not too far, as a bird flies, right, directly from the ocean, we do get that ocean breeze that comes over the hills and really cools down the temperature at night. So even on a summer day, by about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, the breeze comes and it'll really cool down to around 70, 75 degrees, and it makes it really comfortable. So you can go out and go to the restaurant, sit out in the porch on the patio, and be really comfortable, right? So I think that's a good thing, but it gets hot. So everyone has air conditioning, right? A lot of people have pools, a lot of people have community pools. It's hot, so you got to know that if you're making the move here. Con number 3 is going to be just the overall cookie cutter tract homes. So because like we talked about, it's definitely more of a suburban area. A lot of these big builders came in and built 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 homes at a time, right? These master plan communities. And when they do that, you tend to get those stucco boxes, right? So a lot of people do not like the fact that when you're driving through town, a lot of the homes look the same. A lot of the homes look very similar, right? They're stucco, different shades of brown or different shades of gray or different shades of white, right? There's just not a ton of variety. So as opposed to, let's say if you're from like New England or something, right, and you have a lot of those different character type homes and a lot of the different roof lines and all that different stuff, that's not something you're going to see a ton of here. So there are a handful of communities where you're going to get more of that. So if that's important for you, there are some fixes, but I would say 70% of the town, of the city, is going to have a little more of that cookie cutter tract home feel. So that's something to know for sure. And then con number 4 is just the overall commute. So again, because people will live here and commute out, most people live here and commute San Diego, LA, Orange County. And if they're doing that, they're going to be on the road for the commute. That commute could be anywhere from 45 minutes to up to an hour and a half, right? Most people are probably 45 minutes to an hour, but that's a pretty good drive. And with the population growth that we've seen over the last decade, the commute's getting a little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer, and that can wear on you. So that is definitely something to know, is think about where your job is going to be. Because we are such a bedroom community, not a ton of people work here locally. So most people do live here in Temecula and commute out San Diego, LA, Orange County. If you're going to do that, you really got to be thinking about where your home's going to be located, where your home's going to be located in relationship to the freeway, where your freeway access is going to be, if you're on the north side of town or south side of town, depending if you're commuting north or south, right? Those are things that can really make a big difference in your commute because you get so much traffic jam at rush hour. So I will say that we are starting to see people less and less concerned about that because so many more people are working from home, right? So this is post-COVID, right? We're going into 2023. When COVID started, right, so many more people now are working from home. A lot less people have to commute in, and that has taken away a big pain point for people and actually caused the population here to increase, right? So if all of a sudden, if you don't have to commute in at all, that makes Temecula a lot more desirable. If you only have to make the commute 1 or 2 days a week, that makes Temecula a lot more desirable, right? Especially when we are pretty affordable for Southern California. So if you're working from home, that's definitely going to be a big plus for you here. Con number 5 is just the overall price point. So although we are affordable for Southern California, right, nationwide average price point is still about $360,000 is what the average home sells for nationwide, right? And right now the average home in Temecula is selling for about $780,000 or so, right? So we're about double the average price point nationwide. Although we are well over a million, well under a million, which isn't super easy to find in Southern California. So compared to like the surrounding counties, yes, we're affordable. Compared to the nationwide average, we're not super affordable, right? So I think some of that really it comes down to what you're used to, what price point, right? If you're coming from Bay Area, San Francisco, where you can't get a shack for $1 million, you can come down here, live like a king for $1 million, right? We seem super affordable. If you're coming from somewhere in a small town in Iowa, right, where you can buy a great big mansion for $300,000, well, you're gonna come out here and think you're probably gonna get some sticker shock, right? So I think a lot of that just depends what you're used to, right? You do obviously get California wages here, so that's gonna help as far as, you know, cost of living and keeping things affordable, but you gotta know where that average price point is. And that kind of ties me into our last point, which is con number 6, is because of the average price point that we have, it is a really hard area for first-time buyers to buy a home in, right? So what we see is a lot of people will buy homes in some of the surrounding cities. So Temecula is kind of the biggest city here locally, and then as you stretch out, you get a little bit more affordable as you go more north, if you look at a map. So you go to Murrieta as the next city north, it's a little bit more affordable, and as you stretch out to cities of Wildomar, Menifee, Winchester, Lake Elsinore, all those other cities tend to be a little bit more affordable. So what we see a lot is as a first-time home buyer, people will buy homes or condos in those areas, and then eventually as they build some equity and pay them down, etc., they will sell those and move more into Temecula. So that's not 100% a rule for everybody, but it's just what we see most common because the price point is so high here, right? When your average price point for the city is $780,000, well, that's hard for a lot of first-time buyers to be able to afford the down payment or to afford the mortgage for. So it's just something to know. Sometimes it can be a step-up community where people, you know, sell their other home and to make the move here. So hopefully that gives you guys a really good perspective on some of the pros and cons of living here in Temecula. Again, I think it's a great area. I've lived here quite a long time. Hopefully it gives you guys, you know, some good answers there. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to us. I would love to hear from you, myself and my team. And again, like the video, please hit subscribe, and hopefully talk to you guys soon. Thanks.